Now it's time for us to have a conversation to meet our discovery of the week. Now, COVID has brought us all kinds of different challenges and so on and so forth. It's been tough for many people, but we have, a team that has been doing some pretty amazing things, and through the season of COVID as well. I'm going to find out from them how they've even survived it all with all the different, uncertainties and all of that. This is Food for All Africa. Now, first question that occurred to me is, how are you going to feed the entire continent? But they're here, so I don't need to answer the question for myself. They will answer it for me. Ellen Nam Amuji, who is the IT and Logistics Officer at Food for All Africa, and Selina Awimbisa, she's the Client Service Officer at Food for All Africa. They're here to have a conversation with me. Hi guys, morning.
Morning.
How y'all doing?
Yes,
Yeah,
we're doing
good.
You're very cool. Is it the early morning rain?
Yeah, I think so.
Cool,
Yes.
you like that. Yeah. But your smile is trying to come.
Yeah.
Yes, it's come. Right, so Food for Africa. What made you, okay, first of all, what is it about? So that we all clear on what you're doing actually.
Yeah, so Food for All Africa basically is a food recovery organization where we connect, we're between scarce and then plenty. So we connect those who do not have the purchasing power to food items, where we have beneficiaries on one side who do not have the purchasing power, and then the donors.
Okay.
So we have stakeholders who are within the food supply chain, the manufacturing companies, the supermarkets and the likes, even farmers as well.
Okay, so you're saying that there are places where they have in excess in terms of supply,
Yes,
and there are places where people don't have,
Yeah.
and you have positioned yourself to link the two.
yes.
That's what it is.
Yes.
What made you think of this idea? Anyway.
So,
It's Food for All basically came from our CEO coming in touch with a mentally challenged man
Okay.
who goes around picking food and then feeding other mentally challenged men. So he walked up to him, asked, and then he said, if I don't do it, who would?
Wow. Say that again.
If I don't do it, who would? So then it just rang. He went back, sat down. After a few days,
Interesting.
things just kept bugging him.
Yeah.
Why would a mentally challenged man say this? So sat down, thought about it, and then it started, and here we are today.
Wow. So just give us a sense of what your daily operations are like, Selina.
okay.
What does a typical day look like?
So, usually, like, we do recoveries from the people who have most of the food, like the companies who are into food production, who sell food, that they have excess there that are not being in use. So once you're able to recover them, we run programs.
So
we
like a
have
restaurant?
Yeah.
Or,
Well, we have people like, let's say, Spa Ghana.
okay.
So you see, sometimes they have food in excess, like say, because the date is
So the expiry date is
it's
about
almost
to, is
yeah.
about
So
to
they
come,
give
yeah.
it to us, then we share it to those who need it,
Oh,
because
okay.
it may be there and then
It
go
will
bad.
expire and
So
go
we
bad, yeah.
utilize it for them. So we have our hot meals program, and then we do that on Wednesdays and then Saturdays. So Saturdays we have something we call Share Your Breakfast, where we the food will recover. So sometimes we get cornflakes and other stuff. So we prepare breakfast and then go out there to feed the homeless. So most of the times you see us around Kanda, Independence, Tema Newtown. Most of the places in Accra and in other communities where you can find slums or people who do not have
Who are
access
street
to
dwellers.
food. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we feed them, and then on Wednesdays too, we have our hot meals programs. That one we feed them with lunch, so we can prepare, let's say, jollof rice with chicken. We give them a balanced diet at least once a day,
Okay.
to at least meet their daily nutritional requirements. Yeah, so we do that as well. And then again, we have other programs like school feeding program. We call it a lunchbox initiative. So we run school feeding programs in 5 regions in Ghana currently.
I see.
Yes, so we have one in Greater Accra. We do that of Volta region, Central region, Eastern region, and that of Ashanti region. So in total, we have 25 schools that we run our feeding programs at. So
why the schools though? Because if there's already a national school feeding program, how does yours plug in?
Yeah, so our feeding program targets the schools that are not currently under the government school feeding program, whether government or private.
Okay.
Yeah, so once we do our assessment and then we know that, okay, these schools are not under the government school feeding program, and then we know that you have met our criteria, because we know some of the schools, probably let's say in Accra, are private schools. I mean, their parents can afford, so they pay to feed their kids. But we have other schools in deprived communities who are unable to, or which parents are unable to afford, even if it is 1 cedi, for their kids to be fed. So such schools are selected for our school feeding programs.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then tell us a little bit about last year with COVID and everything else. How did this impact your operations?
Last year, we drew a program like we normally do for the year. Midway February, then the whole buzz of COVID started. We're getting the news, it's in Ghana, it's not in Ghana. Then we had to change our programs and then come up with a program which is the Community Emergency Intervention Program for COVID, just in case COVID is here, it affects us. And it did. So then we started going out, talking to donors, talking to partners, sponsors. We started going out, doing 2 items. We're doing food bags, and then the food boxes, and then hot meals.
Okay. But how different was this emergency program to what you were doing normally?
What we were doing normally was having a share your breakfast and then the hot meals.
Okay.
And then giving food to those who do not have. We're giving interventions to communities as well.
Okay.
But with this was more of having us do that, all of those, and then again do this. So we're going out doing, our cars were always on the road, 7 days a week, doing 2,000 meals a day.
Wow. 2,000 meals a day.
Yes.
That's a lot of. So what's your capacity in terms of like staffing and all of that? How many are you?
Now we're 12 in number.
Okay.
The working staff are 12 in number. We have volunteers coming in.
Okay, so you also have volunteers as well.
Yes, experts. We have student groups also coming in to volunteer with us.
Okay, okay. So what are some of your most emotional stories that in all your experience since you began this? Food for All Africa, how many years has it been in?
2015.
Since 2015?
Yes.
Okay. So what would be some of your emotional stories that you can share with us?
Emotional stories, there's quite a few. One, we had a program we normally like to do the streets, so we get those who really need it and not go to a confined area.
Yeah.
So in one of our outreaches, one boy was interviewed. A guy taking the shots, interviewed the boy, and then the boy was, we always sit here and then not knowing what we're going to eat, roaming around, seeing who would come and then help us. So if these guys hadn't come today, there was no way for us to have eaten. We are full, and then we prayed that more of these people would come.
Wow.
It was later when we were going through the video after the guy that we saw it.
Yeah. How did that make you feel?
Sad but happy.
Yeah. I imagine that you were happy because you've plugged into this space, and if nobody's doing, at least you're doing something to meet someone's need. Wow. Any projections for the future? How big do you want this to go? How big do you want this to get?
How big we want
Yeah,
this
because you
to
say
get?
food for all
Africa, yes.
Yeah.
I'm curious about that.
Okay.
It's more of a movement. Food for all Africa, if we're able to deal with hunger issues, we shouldn't be having, hunger should not be a thing today where people wake up and then just to have, just the breakfast itself becomes a problem.
Yeah.
So we should get past that, and that is in the SDGs, to end hunger by 2030. So we should be able to work on that.
Yeah.
Let people wake up. They should be able to afford a square meal. Or even if they are able to afford one day, they know that they've been able to feed themselves
Yeah.
and not go to bed hungry. Because the stats, we're doing well with the stats. The UN report, we're doing well. Then it dipped because of COVID. Because most people had to stay at home, not going to work, losing their
people
jobs,
losing jobs
and all of that.
Yeah.
But one thing we don't get is with the numbers. There's 7.5 billion. So when
Globally.
yes. So
Yeah.
when we take the figures and then go, okay, so we're doing hunger on the UN report. We're doing 690 million. We look at it as it's small.
There are people living with hunger?
Yeah.
Yes. We look at it as though it's a small number because if it's 7.1 billion, it's small. But we should think of it as their lives would affect those who have,
Yeah.
because they would have to go through a lot of stuff, all vices, just to be able to feed.
Yeah.
So their lives, once a person hasn't eaten, they are prone to all kinds of vices just to survive. So
Yeah.
their lives also affect those of us who are able to afford.
Now, we have some images of some of your outreaches. I want us to just talk us through some of what we're looking at on the screens right now. Yeah, so what are we looking at here?
Well, this is one of our outreaches. It's food boxes.
Food box.
Okay.
Yes. Food boxes last year.
So packaged meals already?
No, this is, you have the food boxes, and then the food bags contain a bit of gari, maize, rice.
Okay.
So we have just anything that you can pick and then cook a meal with.
Yeah.
So you have rice, oil,
Okay.
beans. You can do beans,
Okay.
and then you're watching. You have mackerel or spaghetti.
Okay.
You have tin.
So if somebody is handed a food box, they can
Yes.
literally go back and make a meal for themselves.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So these are food bags?
Yes, these are the food bags. This was during lockdown as well.
Okay. Fantastic. Fantastic. So let's take one of those blue bags they are holding there. What will be in there, for example?
That has rice, sugar, it has gari, it has
Beans.
the tin fish,
Okay.
the beans,
Okay.
and then oil. Because it was lockdown time, so we put the PPEs, we had nose
Some masks,
masks, and
yeah.
then the sanitizers in there as well.
Wow. 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 Okay, so I think back to the question that I was asking earlier. Projections for the future. Right now, do you have numbers on how many people you've reached so far?
Yeah.
Do you have any figures? So tell us about it.
So, like, say with the school feeding program, we currently have about 6,000 plus children who are under the school feeding program. Yes, and on our daily hot meals, we feed at least 300, and that's of Saturday too. We have another 300 people that we feed. Yeah.
Okay, so people are watching, and is there any way people can contribute?
Sure.
Yes,
What
they
you're
can
doing?
contribute via our website.
Okay.
There's a donate button on there.
Okay,
or
what's
they can
the
use,
website?
It's foodforallafrica.com.
Foodforallafrica.com.
Yes.
Okay.
And we're on all the social media platforms as
Okay.
well. Or use the USSD, which is *789 *8000 hash.
Star 789 star 8,000 hash.
Hash, yes.
And they can donate
Yes.
to that number. All right. This is fantastic, guys. I'm really grateful that you could come through and share this with us.
Thank you.
We need more people like you. I mean, obviously, it's something that is a major need that we have in this country. So I'm really glad that you could come through, Selina and Elinam.
Yes,
God bless you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
All right, thank you.
And we need people like you as well. Yes.
Well, thank you very much for coming through. We've been speaking to officers from the Food for All Africa, and they've been telling us about what it is that they've been doing throughout the period that they've been in existence since 2015, and especially what happened through COVID and all of that, trying to make an impact on the situation that we have as far as people living with hunger